Good morning, guys. It is November 19th, 2025 here. Happy Wednesday to y'all. And we've got the threat for severe weather and heavy rainfall across portions of the southern plains and central plains and even up into the Ohio Valley as we head towards the end of the week. Also, we're going to be breaking down this big Arctic air mass that everybody's talking about heading towards the end of the month here as we head towards the month of December. A lot of our ensembles and anomalies are showing a very, very cold start to December. So we're going to start to break that down here in this forecast. I will go ahead and start out here with satellite imagery here this morning, talking about what's going on across the United States. And there's a lot of cloud cover across most of the peninsulas here. If you're waking up here, our big time trough that's allowing for our heavy rain setup here, as well as the threat for isolated severe weather as we go into today, tomorrow, and the next couple of days, is now moving across the four corners here. Eventually, this low will shift east, allowing for moisture to continue to work its way out of the Gulf. A little bit of instability to allow for some all-hazard severe weather events both today, tomorrow, maybe even getting towards the Gulf states and the Ohio Valley as we head towards Saturday and Sunday. And then we're really going to be talking about what's getting ready to happen as we go towards next week. The models have been back and forth showing a major winter storm in the Ohio Valley, in the Midwest, and the Northeast on one day, and then the next day they back and forth. So a lot of not inconsistent, or not a lot of consistent models here as we go through the next couple of days on when the timing of this cold air is going to happen and when, if we are going to see any type of wintry weather. Now, going ahead and taking a look at our severe weather outlook today from the Storm Prediction Center, we do have a pretty big marginal risk that goes from basically southeast Arizona up here into portions of southern New Mexico and into Texas and up towards Oklahoma, western Arkansas, and southwestern Missouri, and southeastern portions of Kansas here. Now, this is a very big marginal risk. Doesn't mean everybody's going to see severe weather. This is a level 1 risk out of 5 on the Storm Prediction Center here, and we do have our higher threat for, I guess, tornadoes, I would say, is down here towards south central Texas. So San Angelo, down here towards Abilene. We're going to have to watch later on tonight. Now, there's going to be different timings of different areas here on how this is going to play out, and we'll talk about what that looks like here in just a moment. But in terms of the severe weather scale, this isn't going to be like an outbreak or anything like that. We are going to have to watch for a couple areas that could see some damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour, some small hail, and as well as a couple of tornadoes later on this evening as the low-level jet increases. But like I said, we were looking at this event a couple days ago, and it was looking like it was going to be a big-time event. Downtrends happen. And right now, we're just not going to see that happen. In terms of the tornado risk today, there is a 2% out here, including Fort Stockton up towards Abilene here. So you want to be having your tornado place on standby here, or at least alerts on your phones to know if you get a warning. I don't think this is going to be an obnoxious day or anything like that, but we could have a couple of isolated spin-up tornadoes out there, especially down towards the south central portions of Texas. The wind threat today, mostly widespread from southwestern Oklahoma down through Dallas, over towards the Fort Stockton area, Midland, Lubbock, down here towards even getting closer to El Paso, Texas, and even closer to southwest New Mexico and southeastern portions of Arizona here. So taking a look at that there, we'll have the threat for 60-mile-per-hour winds, and then the hail threat pretty much widespread across the marginal here. So different areas going to see different things. Once again, could we see a slight risk upgrade? Maybe if instability or some different features change this afternoon, but right now we're looking at a very low wind threat for severe weather. The main threat for this week is going to be that heavy rainfall, and we're going to talk about what that looks like here in just a moment. Now, going ahead and taking a look at the timing for today's severe weather event, like I said, it's not going to be that big of a day in terms of like widespread severe weather or anything, but there are going to be some areas that could see some hail with damaging winds and, like I said, an isolated tornado threat. In terms of our latest Triple HR model run from the 12Z data this morning, we do have a couple of those storms firing off here later on this afternoon around 21 to 23Z. Most of those storms are going to be very, very isolated. Could see some general thunderstorms here with some small hails, maybe some gusty winds around the Red River here in northern Texas, just north of Dallas, Fort Worth, down towards southeastern Oklahoma, and then a couple areas here across near northwest of Houston, areas down here towards central Texas. It's going to be kind of popping off here and there as we see areas of pockets of instability as well as our shear increases. But as we go towards the evening hours, this is when that severe threat really ramps up. So you're going to want to have that mindset tonight as you're going to bed, where severe weather is possible across most of the risk zone. It doesn't look to be most of this get going until almost 10, 11 o'clock central time tonight across Texas, across Oklahoma. And eventually, as these storms do grow up, scale, and cluster around, we are going to have that heavy rainfall threat and that flooding threat really start to come in. So once again, higher tornado threat down here for any of these clusters of storms with embedded circulations. This is going to be between about midnight and 6 o'clock tomorrow morning that most of this rainfall is falling across New Mexico, across Arizona, across Texas, Oklahoma. So once again, you're going to want to have alerts on your phones tonight just in case something were to happen. But in terms of the high-end spectrum of where the higher severe weather threat could be at, we could see once again the damaging wind and the hail threat ramp up across Oklahoma through 3 to 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then down here towards Texas looks to be mostly heavy rainfall. So I just don't really see a big time severe weather threat, at least as of right now. We'll be monitoring trends all day. If something changes, we'll keep you guys updated. But look at all of this rainfall falling. This is going to be the main area that I'm concerned about here for heavy rainfall. We could see widespread pockets of 1 to 3. I do think there is going to be an area that sees 3 to 5 inches of rainfall, and that could be right along the Red River here from basically central Texas all the way up through southeastern Oklahoma here, just east of Oklahoma City. We could see higher pockets up here. So that heavy rainfall really is going to be the main threat, as I've been mentioning, for multiple rounds of storms, and this goes all the way out through Friday. So over the next 48 hours, we're going to have lots of rain, and eventually that will shift into portions of the Ohio River Valley. Now, taking a look here at our instability this afternoon, we are going to have some pretty decent instability, anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram. Could even see some higher pockets at that. So instability is not an issue. It's really just the timing of our trough. If our trough was coming in right on time and we were seeing everything match up with afternoon daytime heating, we would probably be looking at a more robust severe weather event. Because the timing of the trough is so late, it doesn't come in until tomorrow, or basically overnight until tomorrow morning. It's just not going to line up. But we will have storms, like I said, firing off in the instability through tonight, and this goes all the way through Thursday into Friday, where eventually instability will wane and we'll probably see some skinny cape as we head towards Friday afternoon. So there will be plentiful instability today and through tonight and to early tomorrow morning for storms to be severe. It's just, are we going to have things time out in order for that severe threat to be really, really maximized? And taking a look as well as our tornado parameters here this afternoon, we are going to have a pretty decent little corridor of potential for a couple of tornadoes, and that's going to be right along that 2% tornado risk that the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted for South Central Texas later on this afternoon. And that really starts to ramp up about 6 to 7 p.m. this afternoon here this evening as the sun sets and our low-level jet increases. That's typical of these severe weather events that happen in Texas and Oklahoma. And as we go through the overnight hours, very, very low in chance for tornadoes across most of the region here. And then eventually tomorrow, we'll have another little area here across northeast Texas that could see a couple areas of spin, maybe a couple brief isolated tornado threat for any storms that are mature out there or robust. And then as we go towards Friday here, Thursday into Friday here, that tornado threat really starts to low. Now, when it's all said and done here over the next 48 to 72 hours here, really the next 2 to 3 days through about Friday morning, this is the rainfall the HHR model is forecasting. Now, there are going to be some areas that are less than this or more than this, and it's just how modeling works with rainfall forecasting. But taking a look at where the highest rainfall, and this is not what you want to see if you're in South Central Texas. We've already had lots of flooding this year, lots of historic flooding. I don't think this is going to be anything near that, but we do have pockets of 3 to 5+ inches of rainfall, especially down here towards South Central Texas. So I do see the potential. WPC, the Weather Prediction Center, does actually have a level 2 out of 4 risk for flash flooding from South Central Texas all the way up through southeast Oklahoma. I could see if trends go up or continue here, a level 3 out of 4 for flooding down here. It's very, very possible. But this is where I'm concerned about for 3 to 5 inches plus of heavy rainfall over the next 48 to 72 hours. And then another area up here of 1 to 3 inches, maybe some pockets of 3 to 5 embedded in here from northeast Oklahoma back down towards southeastern Kansas and the northwestern portions of Arkansas and southwestern portions of Missouri here. So we're going to have to watch that flooding threat very closely here for the chance of higher rainfall totals. If you know your area floods, turn around, don't drown, don't drive through roadways. You know, you never really can know how much water is covered up on a roadway if you're driving through it, or if you're driving over like a creek or stream in an area that's like rural or something like that. So just keep that in mind here. We are going to even have more rainfall that comes as we head towards the early portions of next week, and we're going to go ahead and dive into next week's forecast now. One more thing I will mention here before we go global with our forecast talk here is just the WPC outlook. This is the Weather Prediction Center. They issue the excessive rainfall outlooks, and the scale goes from 1 to 4. So if you're new watching the channel here, you are trying to understand what we're looking at here, it's basically like severe weather, except it's in terms of heavy rainfall. 4 being the highest, which is a high risk, moderate being 3, level 2 risk being slight, and marginal being green. We just don't have that in the middle, enhanced risk here. But we do have a level 1 and level 2 risk for excessive rainfall tomorrow on the day 2 outlook, where most of this heavy rain is going to fall between. And you can see that yellow stripe here from southwestern Missouri all the way down through Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma, and that skinny line through portions of South Central Texas here. And I do think the possibility, if we see those higher rainfall rates continue to trend up, or we see higher rates trend up, we could see a level 3 moderate risk maybe introduced down here. I am watching that very, very closely. I haven't really seen it mentioned, but just kind of giving my opinion here, as I always like to do here when we talk about weather. It's just possible we could see a higher risk zone down here, or at least a potential for higher rainfall here, and maybe a slight little area up here towards the Arklatex region towards Missouri here. So I'm watching that very, very closely here. If any changes with that, now going ahead and taking a look at our latest European model run from last night through this morning, because the lunchtime one hasn't quite yet updated yet. This is what we're going to look out for our global forecasting as we talk about what's going to happen late this weekend into early next weekend, and eventually into Thanksgiving here. Here's our 500 millibar jet stream pattern. Always like to look at this. This gives us an idea of what's happening with our mid-level jet stream flow. And you can see this is our shortwave trough yesterday that brought our severe weather threat across the Ohio Valley. Didn't really validate too much. We had 1 or 2 tornado warnings down towards western Kentucky and northwest Tennessee, but it didn't really do too much in terms of severe weather or anything. So this system's going to be moving up, but this big upper level low is what's causing the severe weather threat and the heavy rainfall across the southern plains and the Gulf as we head into the weekend here, and eventually, at least the later half of this weekend into the weekend. And eventually, after this system moves out, we are going to have another system come in as we head towards Friday into Saturday here off the west coast. And eventually, this may actually set up a little bit better shot of potential severe weather as we head towards maybe Sunday and into next Monday here. So another little system that we're going to have to watch here. Also going to bring some more heavy rainfall, the potential as well for some, decent potential severe weather as we head as well into Monday and Tuesday. But after that, this is where things get really, really tricky. But the GFS and the Euro, some of the Euro AI data coming in as well, also really split on what's going to happen middle of next week. So between Tuesday and Wednesday, We've got this trough moving through the eastern half of the United States here, and we've got another upper level low that's coming down out of Canada. And either this is going to bring very, very cold air as we head into Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving. And like I said, models are very split on what the timing of this is going to be and how much cold air is going to come down. But we could see a little winter system as we head on to Thanksgiving Day here across portions of the northern Ohio Valley, the Midwest. It's what the European is showing. And then just really, really cold air. It's going to be more than likely a very cold setup for the eastern and central half of the United States, especially right after Thanksgiving Day. So if you've got travel plans, the potential for wintry weather, the potential for just really cold air is definitely going to be hanging around here. We're seeing more and more of a trend towards that. It's just we're kind of waiting for all of our guidance to really agree on something before we really get set in stone here. But that is the possibility for next week. And then even as we head towards December here, more active jet streams, storm systems, it looks like it's going to get really, really cold, especially as we head here. And we could see officially that polar vortex collapse here as we head towards the first week of December. And like I said, European showing one thing, GFS showing one thing, the Euro AI is clearly with the Euro. They've both been showing the cold air, so that's something we're really going to have to watch as we head towards the end of the month here. And taking a look here at our temperature anomalies, the orange is going to be your warmer above average temperatures, the dark blue, the light blue, and the purples, and some of the pinks are going to be your below average temperatures. And right now, like I said, going to be a pretty nice rest of the weekend here. Besides the rain and the storm systems, it's going to be above average for most of the country. It's as we, like I said, head towards the middle and end of the next week, it really looks to be, like I said, we're going to have a pretty significant Arctic air mass that's going to plunge its way down here either the day before Thanksgiving, on Thanksgiving, or the day after Thanksgiving. So some point next week, we're going to have some cold air more than likely come down, and where that sets up with, like I said, the wintry weather side of things is still yet to be determined. But if you're in the eastern half of the United States, plan for a cold Thanksgiving, and a very, very cold Thanksgiving where we could see, teens and 20s for lows and potentially 30s and 40s for highs. So it's going to be very, very cold, kind of like we had a couple weeks ago where that Arctic air mass came down out of Canada. It's going to be like the same thing. It's going to be most likely in the same areas, and eventually, like I said, as we head toward the end of the month here and toward the beginning of the month, it looks like we may see another cold snap of air. But like I said, models are very, very split on how this is going to officially unfold. And if we take a look at the timing of the precip and where we could potentially see rain or snow out here over the next 7 to 10 days. Like I said, that low pressure system moving off the East Coast. Here comes our heavy rainfall event and low and severe weather threat over the next couple of days. Lots and lots of rainfall falling between now and probably Saturday into Sunday here across the southern plains, the Arklatex, the Missouri Valley here, the lower Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley here. So a lot of rain going to be falling, and it's going to be beneficial here. Like I said, we're just going to have to watch for the flooding threat. And then, like I said, high pressure dominating up north, so keeping much of the Midwest, the West Coast, pretty quiet here. Low pressure system down towards California for next early week setup. And then, like I said, really not a lot heading into Saturday, late Saturday into Sunday as both of these systems move out. But as we head towards the middle of next week and beginning of next week, this is where we see another batch of potential severe weather, some heavy rainfall. And then here's where things get really complex next week. Potentially travel issues across the Ohio Valley and the Northeast for rain, maybe even some snowfall. And then here comes our system as we head towards Thanksgiving Day that could potentially cause some problems for travel as well as potential for snowfall. Right now, the snowfall doesn't look to be too significant. If we see anything, the European, unlike yesterday, was showing a major system across the Ohio Valley. Now it's only showing something like lake effect snowfall wise, but the trends are going to be mostly there will be cold air in place here. Once again, it's just, are we going to see precip? Are we not? So we're hopefully going to get that figured out here over the next couple of days, because I want to let you guys know. I know you guys want to know what's going to happen, but right now, the potential for a little snow system across the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, and the Northeast next week are possible. Probably, in more of the 50 to 40% chance range right now, but we'll keep you guys updated as always. And one more thing we're going to show here before we wrap the video up for today is just our national blend. This is all of the model guidance to basically shoved together in an average and given in terms of rainfall and snowfall. This is going to be the snowfall, or not the snowfall, the rainfall forecast here over the next 5 to 7 days here through the 28th and the 29th, and where we could see higher pockets of heavy rainfall is expected here. I mentioned here in the last couple of days, western Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma, central Texas here. This is where we're going to have to watch out for 5+ inches of rainfall over the next 5 to 7 days. It's not all in one day, but it's going to be in the next week to a week and a half. Here's what the national blend is showing with, pockets of, 8+ inches maybe embedded in there somewhere, some very local spots of 8+ inches possible where higher concentrations of heavy rain set up at. And then outside of that there, we're generally looking at here in the red and purple about 1 to 3 inches of rainfall across the Tennessee Valley, the southeast here, the Ohio Valley, and over towards the central plains here. So a decent amount of rainfall about to fall here through, next week here over the next couple of storm systems that we see before all of this cold air. And you can see another thing, a lot of dry air up here, and this is going to allow for not a lot of rainfall up there, and still a pretty busy rainfall event down here into the Four Corners in the Southwest Pacific. So we'll keep you guys updated as always. If you are new to the channel, make sure y'all do hit that sub button if you do enjoy the content here as always, and turn on those bell notification icons so you guys can be able to get notifications when we go live and as well as when we do updates. I appreciate you guys. Stay safe out there, stay weather aware, and we'll see y'all in the next one.